Welcome to Super Week. It's week 7, day 1 of the OPL, and we have so much League of Legends coming your way. Of course, it is going to be 3 best of 3s over 3 nights. Hello, everyone. I am Jake Spawn Tiberian. Joining me on the desk for the first time tonight is Barento Raz Mohammed, as well as a regular in Indiana, Frosker and Black. And Raz, you're down under. How are you finding the great southern land? What's going on?
Nice. Got some breath of fresh air. Everything's it's all right.
There's only dirty air in LA? Like, what are you trying to say about America,
Basically.
You rebuttal, Frosker?
It's 4th of July.
Got to give some love to the peeps over in America. Of course, we have a lot of OPL action coming your way, so let's just jump straight into it. Tonight, we are going to have Tainted Minds taking on Abyss Esports before the Direwolves head to Summoner's Rift versus the Chiefs. Tomorrow night at 6 p.m., it is going to be Hellions versus Vanguard before Sin Gaming challenge Legacy for their shot at the OPL title. And then Wednesday night, of course, we do have 3 nights of OPL action coming your way. Tainted Minds versus Hellions before Chiefs take to Summoner's Rift versus Abyss. And of course, they are playing each other for the big chance to impact the standings, because right now, Legacy are on top, and they're your OPL title holders. Direwolves are second, of course. They have lost that head-to-head versus Legacy. They get a chance to reclaim it in Week 10. Chiefs are 4-1 and third. Avant-Garde 3-3 round out our top 4. Tainted Minds are 2-3. Sin Gaming are 2-4. Abyss are 1-4. And Hellions are 0-5. And of course, guys, you know, the other thing that they're playing for is to see one of the shoutcasters get dunked at the OPL final throughout the regular season. It is going to be OPL shoutcasters, you know, competing for that honor of being able to survive the dunk tank. Right now, somehow, Fish is winning and everyone else is coming last. And you know what? I don't have Rusty here to pick on, so Frosker, and I'm coming to you. Fish, like, he's asking Magic 8 Ball for advice, and you're getting your butt whooped.
No, this is it. I honestly believe it's that 8-ball. His desk is covered with 8-ball memorabilia. He's got a cup, he's got a pillow, he has the actual 8-ball. There's no other way I don't know. He's doing some witchcraft.
And
over
Raz,
there.
I know you had some fighting words beforehand. You were like, you know, get me in there. I'll catch up. Like, we're already halfway through. You still believe that?
Oh, definitely. I'll get it by percentages, man. 2 for 2. I'm ready.
Just playing the odds, of course, guys. Let's get into tonight's first game. It is going to be Abyss Esports versus Tainted Minds. On the first side of the rift, it's going to be Abyss. Pac-Man in the top lane, Seb, their jungler, Luch in the mid lane, Raid, their AD carry, and T-Gun, their support. And, of course, they are going to be facing off against OCS teams. And now they're in the OPL together. It's going to be Tainted Minds. Praedyth in the top lane, Zahi in the jungle, Omni, their mid laner, Lost and Rosie are their carry bottom lane. And, you know, both these teams, Frost, they're taking games off some of the big dogs right now.
Yeah, so you have Abyss, who have like the actual big schedule where they've taken games off Direwolves, Legacy, and Avant. Those have all been 1-2 losses, unfortunately, just because their score right now is 1-4. But on the other side, you also have Tainted Minds, who have taken games off of Avant as well as Legacy. So both of these teams have proven that they have the power and the potential to kind of hit hard once, but not clean up the series.
And Raz, I want to come to you for this, because obviously a coach of an organization, like, what does that mean when you're taking 1 games but you're not able to close out sets?
I mean, they have the potential, but consistency is a big thing. Like, for instance, maybe within the series, they have a plan. They go through the plan, maybe something doesn't go right. And then, well, that's where it all tumbles down. Now, I think that they have the potential, and they're showing great things, especially Abyss. They're showing great things within their games, but it just somehow drops off.
Yeah, they're not able to get it together across all 3 games, and that's where you do look to your leaders and shot callers. Want to take a quick look at T-Gun and Rosie, of course, both support players, both veterans of the OPL, and these are the guys that you would expect to set these plays up as the shot callers.
So both of these supports actually have very different roles and responsibilities within their team, though. Yes, they're kind of the captains, the shot callers, they're setting the pace, but T-Gun is doing it more so in kind of a stabilizing and neutralizing way. A ton of Karma as his most played, whereas on the other side you see the most played of Rosie. It means he's played all of those champions at least 2 times. Rosie is kind of taking on this identity of, I have to carry. You know, I'm playing Leona, I'm setting up my team, I'm being the guy that pulls the trigger, and it's kind of, it's backfiring in a sense, where I think that if Rosie just kind of took a step back and was more supportive of Lost, you know, playing the Karma, I almost said Lulu, it's not 6.13 yet, playing the Janna and empowering his team a little bit more as opposed to trying to empower himself, he might find more success.
I think it's a bigger point of consistency. Now, look, I think if you look into Abyss, you see the Karma games, I think they have a style. Within each role, you see, like, especially Seb, you see him playing Rek'Sai, you see him playing Elise, and he has an understanding of what his role is on the team, especially Luch. You know what role he's going to be playing, those mages, and you really don't know. I mean, for instance, I think with Tainted Minds, you know that they're playing towards their bot lane, but it doesn't show in their picks.
Yeah, it certainly doesn't. In fact, their picks last week showed that they were playing towards the top side of the map, and maybe they're picking themselves the counter pick, the winning matchup there. But as soon as Praedyth is trying to get that advantage, he's getting camped out. Zahi's not mirroring that pressure. And it does take me to the next point I want to make is, this theory behind like one carry lost, all the eggs in his basket. He is our superstar rookie. He's going to carry us to the promised land. Versus Abyss, who they've got the top side of the map, and every single person there does their job fairly well.
It effectively comes down to Abyss are just a more well-rounded team. So again, like their picks are not more well-rounded, but the fact is that they have more options in terms of where their carry potential is. You can look towards Luch in the mid lane. You can look towards Seb in the jungle. Pac-Man, of course, a great split pusher, or you can play the carry-oriented top laners, which act as a perfect counter, effectively, to a Fed AD carry. We say this all the time, that the meta is really difficult to carry as an AD carry in, because, Swiffer said it on the desk, control mages can just blow up your AD carry, and they're getting so many resources, they're so popular to see. You have all of these backline dive top laners running around. You've got, Jax and Aurelia and the Trundle that can just walk up onto your carry. So it's really important that you give them that support to keep disengaging. That's why we've seen global picks like Nami and Karma really starting to rise up. But again, if you're looking towards that Leona, you're diving in, ships are passing the night, and your all-star AD carry is left to fend for himself.
Yeah, and one big point too is not only just the Leona, but the Jinx, right? We were just talking about how those mages can just blow you up. So I don't see any safety in playing that Jinx. I think you can just go back to, like, for instance, Abyss, they're playing a lot of Ashe. They're playing a lot of just basically those utility AD carries that can, they can do as much damage at a safe distance or just provide as much, for their team. So I think that Tainted Minds just need to play towards an overall identity and kind of play to the meta.
All right, cool. See whether they can shift that. Of course, both of these teams, very new teams in the OPL, and both would want to make a playoff push. Huge super weeks for both of these teams, especially Abyss. They've got Tainted Minds and they go up against the Chiefs, I believe, on the final day. If it was going to be one of these teams that make the late season run, are we looking towards the Tainted Minds? Are we looking towards Abyss? Who do you think has that potential to really step up, challenge Vanguard?
Personally, I think it is Abyss, just because they have more tools on their roster in terms of pound for pound each position. I said this in the on-hit power rankings, that even though Sin took the head-to-head, I actually think Abyss are in a bit of a healthier position. It's simply this failure of consistently playing a cohesive style together. Like, individually, they have all the pieces, but the roster is still fairly new in how it's getting organized within the professional league, that they just need experience and time before they can really start picking it up and being a contender for that top 4.
Yeah, and I'm seeing a lot of growth out of Abyss. It's slow, but it's basically every set you watch, like the newer sets, you're definitely seeing good things out of them.
All right, cool. So we think they can grow. Can they win this set tonight for us, Karun?
I definitely think it is in Abyss's hands, although I do think that Tainted Minds will take a game. Despite the fact that I don't...
fish on the desk. There we go. Yeah, no, 2-1. Yeah, keep going.
It's credit to loss. Despite the fact that I don't think that the AD carry is in a position of power right now, Tainted Minds have proven that eventually they roll that dice as many times as they want, and Lost can step up at times and be that superstar carry that he was meant to be. But Abyss, they just have more weapons. They have more threats.
It'll be a difficult game. I think it'll be a difficult set of games, but I think it'll be a 2-0 for Abyss.
All right, cool. So Raz actually willing to throw down the gauntlet. We'll see whether he can get game number 1 correct. However, the players are ready to get onto Summoner's Rift. So here is Atlas and Rusty to take us into Champ Select.
Thank you very much, Spawn. And look, Raz was very confident in his 2-0 for Abyss, but the last time we saw these two teams was in the final of the OCS, or it was the 3-0 victory for then Chiefs Black, now Tainted Minds.
You have to say a lot has changed since then.
Yeah.
To be fair as well, not only the rosters, I think Tainted Minds have stayed as consistent as they possibly can. They did bring their top laner back in Praedyth. They had Salza, who, and honestly, very similar in that respect. They've now just replaced one with another, and it doesn't feel like anything's changed. Abyss, on the other hand, they have T-Gun kicking at the rear. He was new to that team towards the finals as well. There was a lot of changes that they were making throughout, and now it's now finally Abyss of finding themselves.
Exactly right. Not to mention Pac-Man and Seb joining the roster, so now a new beast in Abyss, and we'll see whether they can get some revenge against the OCS champions in Tainted Minds. However, we are into Champ Select. LeBlanc has been banned away first. Omni not going to get that champion, and the mid lane matchup is actually really interesting here. Luch still playing fantastically in their last series, despite their loss. We'll see whether he can continue on form against Omni, who hasn't been finding as much success.
Omni has been the opposite of consistent, whereas Luch has always been doing his part for the team, and I actually want to bring that back to the initial point made on the desk. It's quite simply that Abyss are being consistent. They have every single person's strategy that's reflected through draft and play style that they can just replicate and perfect, whereas Tainted Minds, they keep mixing up. They keep trying to break from the meta. Leona only works so many times, but there's a reason you don't actually see it, as an example.
Yeah, that is a very good point. And of course, Praedyth as well, still getting a lot of support there, especially in the pick ban phase, but hasn't been able to translate it in his last 2 matches. Of course, only recently turning 17, eligible into the OPL. But since his debut, hasn't exactly found too much success, as we do see a few more bans. Azir and Vladimir taken away on the side of Tainted Minds, as Bard is going to be the reactionary ban here from Abyss.
Yeah. A few mid lane bans to be seen, and no surprises against Luch. You get rid of the Azir.
Yeah.
Something that is, I guess, slightly noteworthy whilst we look at the mid laners is how they share that champion pool. That's actually reflected as well to an extent through top lane, through jungle, and through support. AD carries are kind of a wash in that respect.
It's a very good point. And of course, we were talking about Rosie and Tegan, the fact that these guys, both the veterans of the team. And we look at Rosie, and Rosie was the guy that played a unique champion in every single game when he was with the Chiefs for like 7 games in a row. This guy's been playing a heck of a lot of different champions. But now has actually dipped down to 7 unique champions this time. Tegan on 8. This man has been showing his versatility a lot. Of course, things like the Braum and the Alistar, more of these melee supports, are something that Rosie hasn't really stepped up towards.
No, Rosie has much more of a carry mindset as far as supports are concerned. He does want to do his part, even in the way of damage, to compensate for his team, because he feels out of necessity it's what he has to do.
We'll see what's going to happen here as Aurelia and Karma were the final 2 bans, meaning things like Ryze are available, the Rek'Sai there as well. Thinking about exactly what these first picks are going to be, as Rek'Sai's been hovered.
You would expect this to be locked in. Of course, the Rek'Sai, not the Nasus.
That would make some sense. Of course, a denial from Zahi as well. See what Tainted Minds respond with, because there's still a lot of powerful picks here still left up on the board. It's Karma and Aurelia, not seen too many times in the ban list.
Yeah, but Karma taken away. It does make sense, funnily enough, from Tegan. I'd say that, yes, he's got a lot of unique champions played. Rosie may even have one less, but he plays them more often and can more consistently keep up on those champions, Rosie. So pushing Tegan's champion pool, wouldn't be shocked to see something like the Nami immediately folded towards.
Yeah, it does make a lot of sense, and that was his most recently played champion, and can augment movement speed as well. It is one of, the things that makes Karma so incredibly powerful is that Mantra Shield.
Yeah, and usually put that with an Ashe or a Sivir to complement, as you can either move very quick or you can just be a utility engage based bottom lane. Of course, that Rek'Sai being taken by Seb, something that he's looked very comfortable on recently, and not only that, forces Zahi onto something a little bit less comforting.
That's a very good point, but Praedyth is going to go straight to the Shen here as Zahi back to comfort on the Lee Sin. Of course, what he was known for all those years ago.
Oh, years ago. Yeah. There has been a couple of years between then and now.
That is a very good point.
We don't actually know how practiced he is on this champion. Zahi, a big question mark now flagging the Tainted Mind draft. You couple that with the Shen though, and one of the few things that you always look towards is actually the engage-heavy jungler that goes into the back line that has a Shen shield on top of him.
Not to mention Shen delivery service.
Essentially, yeah, because if Lee Sin can get on that back line, you can bring the Shen with you. That's why Hecarim or Olaf is always really good with it. Lee Sin's a bit different, which means they may actually have a hyper carry in the AD carry position again, because Praedyth isn't.
Yeah, it's actually a really good point. And of course, Tainted Minds are a team that do like to still lean on that bottom lane for getting them through the majority of their victories, as Luch is going to take away the Ryze. Ezreal picked up here as well for Raid. There's some power picks already set up here for Abyss.
Yeah, there definitely is. Luch playing that Ryze, and that is the assumption. You would have to imagine Pac-Man will be more inclined towards the Trundles or tanks.
Very good point.
In that top lane, and Luch a very good Ryze player in his own right. Not surprising to see it locked in for him, given the LeBlanc and Azir are taken off the board. Does mean that Omni can revert to something like a Victor if he would like. It's a bit safer than a lot of other champions in that middle lane. He could just go all in kill lane. I know Omni is a really old school Fizz player.
Yeah.
But that's pretty risky.
Of course, does have that LeBlanc banned away from him, so that's sort of assassin option not going to be there. 16 seconds to go, though, as Tainted Minds trying to make up their mind, trying to decide exactly what this team comp is going to look like. They could go full global here as well as Lost currently considering the Jhin, and Omni heading towards the Victor.
Yeah, we should see that one. Makes plenty of sense, particularly Omni's pick. I am a big fan of what Lost is locked in, however.
Yeah.
The long-range option is quite handy against a Ryze. It also means that you can utilize the Shen on top of the Lee Sin, get into that backline and know that your AD carry is going to be safe. And now what they've got is the short range of Lee Sin and Shen, the middle range of a Victor, and then the long range of Jhin. I think to actually round this team composition out, perhaps a little bit more hard engage, or to keep what they currently have alive would be a good option here for Rosie.
And we think this is a good sign here for Tainted Minds as well, because Jhin is a very sort of utility-focused AD carry as well. Can get that slowdown with the curtain call. Are we still thinking that they are going to move towards something like the hard carry style?
I think they should, for the support position, actually go complementary and absolutely go with that. Lost is still going to be the hard carry, albeit from a long range.
Yep.
It does still, to me, come down to what Omni can get done. It's quite important that Omni does his part.
Well, you can see 2 more picks locked in here for Abyss to round out their lineup, and it is going to be the Trundle and the Braum. Trundle fantastic into the Jhin. I do like that reactionary pick. Not to mention, this is one of Pac-Man's comfort picks from last split. Looks very powerful on that, and the super tank potential of the Shen might be diminished a little bit with that Subjugate.
Yeah, one of the few champions that Pac-Man, notorious tank player in the last split, was able to carry on. Trundle very big in his hands. You couple that with the rest of his team. They've got the Braum to round it out, to lock anybody down and create an engage from nothing. Raid playing that Ezreal has a bit of utility in his queue when it has the Iceborne Gauntlet there. Lucha's just got an abundance of damage. I feel like that is a very standard Abyss team composition, where they know Luch just wants to farm. He's on a scaling champion. Raid's a very good mechanical player, and they're giving him the utilities to do that. Seb's got early pressure. Pac-Man can carry, and T-Gun is able to help his team out.
Oh, Rosie going to go back to the tried and true Zyra making... Oh,
Nope.
no. So Morgana going to be locked in the end. So Rosie just wants to make sure he's got more champions there in his most played list. He's going to add Morgana to that one. Has played it once already. This will be his second time. As you can see, Abyss switching around their champions. And these are going to be the lists. And how do you feel with that Morgana augmenting this Tainted Minds comp? Do you think that they will be able to go up against what is very solid out of Abyss?
I think they've got a bit of early pressure. Their level 6 is quite good here as well from the Tainted Minds roster. The Morgana, as that last rotation, to me makes a lot of sense because they're against the Braum firstly, which means it's good for laning phase. You got the Black Shield to stop the Braum stun. It's got that exact same utility come mid-game because you can stop any half engages they have or any non-committal crowd control that might actually come down. And when you look at the side of Abyss and say, well, where does their actual committal crowd control lie? It's potentially Luch with the W, or it is T-Gun with that Braum. So one pick here, to me, on the side of Tainted Minds, has actually set themselves up well come mid-game, come late game, if they can execute well.
Yeah, and we'll see whether they can, because of course Abyss getting a lot of support from the desk. This is a team that has sort of found their stride in the OPL so far. Haven't yet found a victory in a very, very large amount of months. Both of these teams actually coming off losses. It's only been 2 weeks since Tainted Minds picked one up. However, it's been 4 weeks since Abyss have found victory. We'll see whether they can find it here, and they need your support. Hop on Twitter, use that hashtag AEWin if you think that Abyss will be able to take down this best of 3, or use that hashtag TaintedTMWin if you think that Tainted Minds are going to be able to take it down. Of course, it's not hashtag TaintedWin because that wouldn't make any sense at all due to the fact that it's an incredibly long hashtag.
Yeah, absolutely. I think before we even get into this game, recognize from that champion select that Abyss, very much stock standard, playing as the desk expected, you'd have to imagine, with the team composition.
Yeah.
Honestly, no shocks. But on the flip side, Tainted Minds, they've changed it up by having Praedyth on that Shen, not on a hard carry.
Yeah.
But someone that can complement the rest of his team, let them hard carry. And now it's definitely much more about a team fighting or standard composition, I would say, from TAM.
Yeah, and we'll see how Praedyth goes, sort of transitioning into this more utility-based role. Tainted Minds making sure that they're not spreading themselves too thin. However, we are onto the Rift as Abyss moving out as a group. See whether they can catch anyone out. Of course, Braum, pretty famous for his level 1.
Yeah, rule of thumb as well. What Zahi did there was correct. Never stand in the bush anymore at level 1. Always stand outside the bush. You get a greater radius of vision. No one can hide around the ledges. And because of that, he's able to easily walk it out and see Seb.
Not even underground there either. They are going to move over. Lane swap ward's going down as Lost chucks his one in. Pings out from Abyss. They know exactly what's going on, and we'll see who wants the lane swap and where we're going to end up.
Yeah, so very early aggressive movements from Abyss in particular to place that vision. Means that they're the ones actively looking, I would wager, for standard lanes.
Well, you can see Tainted Minds getting a lot of the vote here. A lot of people remembering their success in the OCS final. It was pretty decisive.
The North always remembers Atlas.
Exactly right. Well, we'll see whether they can be victorious. Whether Abyss are finally going to get their victory on the board. I have a feeling this might go to 3 games though, Rusty. If history has taught us anything. Luch taking a bit of damage from Omni here. Let's get himself a Thunderlord's proc, but doesn't actually have Thunderlord, so it doesn't even matter.
And of course, what you're implying there, Atlas, is that Abyss have never had a 2-game series.
They have not.
It's always gone to 3. And Tainted Minds, one of the few opportunities where you would look at the scoreboard and even say it's reflected there. Abyss have an opportunity now to find the victory.
Yeah, well, as it all shook out, it is going to be standard lanes. Even sides as Rosie takes a Mystic shot. Doesn't seem too worried.
There's a big level 2 advantage, though, for Abyss in their duo. Which is why Raid is able to single-handedly zone them away or poke them. Lost, looking to trade as a Jhin at level 1 is not ideal, because Ezreal is effectively a better version of you until you have items, and you have different purposes.
Yeah, Raid also navigating this harass plus last hitting very, very effectively.
They are so zoned.
Yeah. I don't even think they got experience for that last creep.
No,
Dangerous.
they didn't. This is usually the creep, I believe, that would make them level 2, but it's not anymore. And now they are actually playing a dangerous game. The minions will naturally push towards them. You can see it's a big stack actually building up for Abyss, but that's a period of time where it's now 16-6 in farm, and even when it crashes, the bottom lane of Abyss Esports have pressure to zone them off.
They'll have to do a lot of work. They want to be able to take this one down.
Zahi.
Yeah, considering a level 3 gank here onto Luch.
He has the way in here.
Yeah, Death Ray is going to land as there's a speed up. The Q doesn't connect. Zahi is going to safeguard his way out. Nice little room prison there as Luch grabs himself the passive.
It's a quick rune mage, honestly. Luch does trade, but it's not too great for him. Omni still has the summoner spell advantage and has mana pool, so he's able to continue this extra ranged harass. And he's going to continuously put down. Zahi not actually throwing the Q from the bush there. I was going to say, it's predictable pathing from Luch, the way that he's moving around. As Seb's actually...
Yeah. Going to come in. Doesn't get the knock-up, but gets the flash out of Omni.
Yeah, more important summoner spell burnt because he got the full wrap around from behind. And so flash for Ghost now in this middle lane. I think the same point remains. Luch's positioning is always to the left and he's always pacing back and forth. I think Zahi could have actually hit that Q before being in vision. And he's still looking.
Well, you can see Zahi was around there. But Luch not going to push his luck, was staying to the strong side of the map, of course, where Seb already was. Now going to head back to base, see whether he can afford that tier. Which I assume he will be.
Yeah, he has enough for the tier. And then some. One of the few champions is...
Yeah, there's the arcane shift out of Raid. Zahi might be in trouble, though, as he gets concussively blown. Don't know whether that verb necessarily works, but gets himself out with the safeguard.
Yeah, wastes his ward. Kind of just follows the Q for the sake of it, I suppose.
Yeah, Kratos trying to deny a cannon creep. It's now going to stop Pac-Man from wailing on him.
Got the cannon bite.
Yeah, that's the important part of this lane. Because I have a feeling these guys are just going to be beating on each other, and not a whole lot more is going to happen.
Yeah, a lot of the pressure actually coming towards the jungler's hands. At Zahi's looked mid, he's now looked bottom, and there is free time in that top lane for Pac-Man to work his magic. Feel content actually pushing for that point in time anyway.
You can see Abyss actually navigating very well underneath this turret. It's Tainted Mind still behind towards the bottom side of the map, about 7 creeps.
But
so
losing lane
approximately
though,
away.
Abyss now. A lot of pressure now out the window.
Yeah.
Rosie full health. Tiga not is actually the difference between them. For what it's worth, AD carries still got full health. They haven't had to blow their potions. They're just farming it out. But somehow, Tainted Minds, they found themselves back into this lane.
Turning things around, Rosie throws down some soil. He's going to get himself some money with his Spell Thieves. You can see Abyss down by about 200 gold as far as farm is concerned. You can see the top side of the map, Praedyth, farming out very, very well, 45 to 31. He has hit that level 6 as well, so Stand United can come in.
Quite important, of course, being level 6 now. Not only does he have pressure in this laning phase, something that Shen always seems to have whenever that taunt is available.
Yeah, so we do have a slight pause, ladies and gentlemen, so you're going to have to bear with us just for a moment. But as things have shaken out, things looking okay for Tainted Minds at the moment. And look, that wasn't necessarily what was expected.
I think laning phase, to be fair, something that Tainted Minds will always excel at. It did start off a little bit, I'm going to say shaky on the bottom side of the map, just simply because of the creep advantage and the camp advantage that they had. But now that it's evened out, everything's back in Tainted Minds' ball court to continue at one of their strengths, which is being in that laning phase. They've got a kill-heavy bottom lane. It's just the way that they play. They've got a strong top laner who's known for his carries as well, just does win lane. It's something that Praedyth is quite good at. And Omni, it's not that it's his weak point in laning phase either. He usually struggles a bit outside of that point. They always excel now.
Yeah, well, we'll see whether they can continue to do so, because at the moment, looking at their mid lane, this is one of the first times we've seen Luch not ahead. And at the moment, he's getting completely harassed out. Chaos Storm's still there for Omni. Fortunately for Luch, no flash to come in. He has to be very careful here in this lane at the moment.
You can see the difference in cooldowns as well, funnily enough. His Ghost is back, whereas the flash for Omni's not. It's like half the cooldown, I believe, on that Ghost, roughly.
Yeah.
But yeah, not having the best time doesn't mean he's completely out of lane, but he needs to respect Omni's kill threat and starts to fall a little bit further and further behind. The choice to go for a Mana Crystal with his first recall looks like it's starting to hurt him here.
Zahi going to come over, clears out a tunnel. Seb is going to see him. Zahi now moving back to his own jungle. See whether the mid lane pressure continues here for Tainted Minds. Zahi has been around the map quite effectively, though. Already helping his bottom lane out, getting into the mid lane, grabbing that Ghost cooldown.
Yeah, but that's all they've really done. Zahi, whilst he's looked to get ganks done, he's been in there a couple of times. He hasn't actually gotten the kill. They haven't seen the result of it. There's no fruits to his labor. Seb, it felt like he was farming more than he was pressuring, but he spent a lot of time sitting in areas where he could be. Back in mid, though.
Yeah, there it is as the knockup comes down. Luch getting a lot of damage, and first blood goes to Seb. Chaos Storm just casually bathed in here by Luch. We'll see. That was fantastic, though, from Seb. Skirted that ward to make sure that no one knew what was going on.
Yeah, well done from Seb. In particular, we were speaking towards the junglers not actually getting it done, but as we say it, that seems to be customary for a commentator anyway.
Yep.
Seb finds the early gank, and he looks towards Omni, who didn't have that flash, now has no summoner spells. And is not in the best position in this middle lane anymore, because the CS gap's closed. And there's a kill on the Rek'Sai, who can just come back time and again.
Well, Zahi does now have level 6. See whether that's going to help him out, and see whether his first gank attempt, apart from that bottom lane meander, is going to be more effective.
Good awareness, though, from Abyss. They've pinged out that this was being taken. If there's the second ping, then obviously the tunnel probably die. They just weren't there on time.
Yeah, T-Gun did make it into position, but the red buff was already dead. Luch going to head back, pick up all of these minions. Catalyst at the ready, as well as a Null Magic Mantle there as well, so the Ryze pretty comfortable at this point.
And not having an exhaust on the side of the Victor is something that, if Luch ever gets in range of you, can chunk you out.
There it is, throws down the ultimate, gets himself the shield as the gravity field's going to at least save Omni for now. Trading from the Ryze getting scary.
Yeah, but if that's the trade every single time, it was health that Omni lost that Luch didn't.
Yeah.
Maybe next time he does it better or uses the Ghost, even flashes over it for extra damage if there's jungle presence. It starts to hit that point now. Omni, whilst he has resistance of his own, just doesn't match a Ryze in the way of burst yet.
Consistent damage as well. I mean, of course, Ryze, bit of a machine gun.
It's more that because there's a Catalyst and a Null Magic Mantle opposed to what is a lot less health on the side of the Victor.
Yeah.
By being more frail, you run the risk of being out-traded in a 1v1. Jungler standing in front of you, however, you can still burst people.
We'll see how he does go. Is T-Gun going to get grenaded? Lost is doing quite a bit of work here in this lane so far. Evened out that farm completely. As the farm alarm comes in, you can see Seb back in position. Flash is now available from Omni.
And he's looking for that red buff at least, but it's not going to be there. It's actually been denied.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it was Abyss that did that the first time around. I don't think it was. So that's very unusual. And if it was by a Tainted Minds, then Zahi took the red knowing he was going to the enemy red at spawn.
Oh, nice Unbreakable there from T-Gun to deny the Deadly Flourish. Raid takes a lot of damage from that Q though, as Rosie, of course, maxing that one first. Seb is going to find Zahi here.
He knows Zahi's about to look for the top gank. He can counter this one nicely.
Well, we'll see how Seb is going to make this one work. Subjugate already down. Nice double knock up there from Seb. Azahi's taking a fair bit of damage. Pac-Man just gets destroyed from the burst, though. As Seb looking for a kill. Luch is going to make his way up. He's ghosting in, flashes forward, grabs Praedyth. Now Zahi on the wrong side of the map. Cute little play. And he's going to get himself the flash to safety as Omni had ghosted up as well. So 1-for-1 as the top laners fall.
1-for-1, except that Luch was here sooner, Omni was not. It does give a slight summoner advantage to Tainted Minds if they look mid, but Jin's got the ult on.
Yeah, nice Q comes down from Rosie there as well to lock him up as the last hit going to be blocked there from Raid.
Good
Tainted
damage.
Mind. Yeah, they're doing work here on the bottom side.
Yeah, still fantastic damage. That lane control's really come back for them. Morgana Jin.
Lost. Yeah, exactly. He took a turret shot, but T-Gun very, very low. Braum not going to be too useful here in this lane as Raid probably relegated to farming with that Q. As, my God, fantastic Deadly Flourishes. There's the flash Q. Raid is able to make it work as the teleport's coming in from Abyss. But it has to be cancelled. They just don't have the health bars.
But the cancelling of that teleport in particular actually signals that Tainted Minds can look to overpush this. Either break it under that turret, put some damage down if they choose. They can threaten as well that Lee Sin might be nearby. They've got a lot of options to them now. Abyss on the other side. By staying, they are asking to die.
This is very scary. T-Gun, one hit away from dead. Deadly Flourish is going to come in, but it doesn't find the kill.
I don't know if it's Death by a Touch on T-Gun. It is. So Jin's running Death by a Touch. You have to remember that it can get you quite low and can kill you.
Whoa!
Okay. If that had Thunderlords.
Yeah.
Just saying, flirting with danger is T-Gun's game right now.
Oh, there's the Deadly Flourish. Raid tanks it up. Got to be careful with this first Mountain Drake. Looks to be owned by Tainted Minds as Seb is round the side. They do have vision as the Death Ray comes in. True Shot Barrage not enough. Zahi's able to lock that one down. So, extra pressure on the map now for Tainted Minds.
Yeah, gets the smite Zahi. It was too close for comfort. But Ezreal using that to try and steal opposed to pushing the wave means that Tainted Minds is still in complete control. By forcing T-Gun back, by winning the 2v2, they can look towards these objectives and Seb can't answer. Very clever movements from this team now that, again, using that Shen as simply a potential threat.
Yeah.
Has really changed things up for them.
See, Pac-Man still fighting this one out as Praedyth taking auto attack after auto attack. Remember, the ultimate's still there from Pac-Man. Can use that, get a bunch of his health back, and he is going towards that Ravenous Hydra, so already has that lifesteal available.
And the funny thing is, Praedyth didn't lose that trade, but Pac-Man has much more sustain, so if he loses the trade by even a small bit on this Trundle, he effectively wins that trade as long as another wave comes. Seb's waiting at an intersection for the lights to turn green.
They did,
before he chooses a lane.
Has been very topside centric here on this Rek'Sai so far. Has a few tunnels towards the bottom as Zahi is going to find the Q onto T-Gun. Stands behind Raid, gets himself back to safety.
And doesn't have a team behind him anyway.
He does now though. Yeah, Flourish is going to come in. There's the kickback as the ultimate comes down, but it's just a bit of a celebratory one out of Praedyth as they'd already locked down the kill. Nice pick up there for Lost. Zahi is not finished. The Q's not going to land, and Raid gets to safety.
That was honestly disrespect from T-Gun as well. Not too sold on what his strategy was, with Seb being top side of the map as well. You don't need to push that forward.
Chaos Storm goes down here in the mid lane as Luch has to weather it for the moment. Can't quite run fast enough, but he's going to go down to half health. That's a big cooldown there from Omni.
And still Raid completely zoned now because of T-Gun's forward advances. His bottom lane is still doing work, being utilized Zahi effectively to snowball it as best they can.
Yeah, so turret's going to be traded. Top lane falls down in favor of Abyss, and bottom lane is going to fall down in favor of Tainted Minds. We are in another pause, ladies and gentlemen. I apologize for that. We'll be back onto the Rift as soon as possible. But look, turret's traded. Top side focus here for Abyss, whereas bottom side focus for Tainted Minds makes a lot of sense. And we'll see whether Lost can actually use this one kill that he has to transition this Jhin into possibly winning them the game.
You're right, it does make a lot of sense. And tower for tower also seems to be the tit for tat, the trade that they're going to make. The big difference, once again, in the outlier is still T-Gun. Pushing forward, being aggressive, actually putting yourself in a spot where you can die. Very much needless when you know your jungler is on the opposite side of the map and you can see the enemy jungler. It's small things like that that can actually change the outcome of the game because you're letting the snowball happen a lot easier.
Yeah, and once we look at these towers falling down, what are the next sort of go-tos here for both of these teams. Of course, you mentioned the fact that Abyss, relatively standard team comp at the moment. However, on the other side of the map, what are Tainted Minds? What's their plan now that that bot lane tower has fallen?
So they can choose to keep the standard lanes if they'd like, or they can choose to accelerate the pace of the game by swapping to the top side of the map instead. I think they've got the options here, Tainted Minds, as well as Abyss choosing what they want to do in response. If Tainted Minds go top, do we match it? Is the other big question, because originally with the Braum and Ezreal, even with the level 1 play, they wanted standard lanes. They wanted to utilize their strength, and they did make it work. In fact, they zoned them off for a bit, but now it started to unwind. Maybe Abyss's best answer is actually to just trade and just take what they can from these trades and snowball or scale as best they can with Ryze.
Yeah, because I was going to talk about scaling here as well as we do hop back onto the Rift. We've got two sort of tier stackers here in Luch and Raid. Want to get those 2 items as quickly as possible. Or Abyss sort of looking for a mid-game push this time around, as once again, mid laners are going to fight one another.
Of course, no ultimate this time for Omni, and yes, they want to get to that mid-game spike that a Ryze and an Ezreal can provide. And the 20-minute mark is where we always used to look. Nothing's really changed this time around. Seb being 1-0-1. Pac-Man having his items as well. The only downside was that bottom lane's, 11 CS behind? No one really actually died for it.
Yeah.
Besides T-Gun towards the end there. I'd say as far as scaling goes, Abyss well and truly still on the way.
Pretty comfortable right now as the gold is entirely even. Omni going to get that blue buff handed over to him and picks up this minion wave underneath the turret. As you can see, Abyss pushed up quite far now that tower's dead, and the teleport's coming in, is lost. Raid just wants it. He's trying to find something where he can. Soul Shackles comes out, but Lost picks up the kill, and T-Gun gonna get flourished. The kickback comes in as all of the skill shots are landing here for Tainted Minds, and the bottom lane gets obliterated.
Yeah, and just like that, the play's on. Seb still top side of the map, no ulti. Pac-Man doesn't choose to teleport down. And Raid, he knew that it was done.
Yeah.
He knew that their time was up with the teleport coming in. And so his best resolve was to make a trade that didn't actually eventuate. Now Abyss, they are still trying to do that themselves, but they're not going to get it.
Yeah, Praedyth makes it in time to save this inner turret. Of course, a lot of damage done by Pac-Man, and we know that his Trundle does like to split push, especially with a build like the one he's gone with. Now Praedyth looking for more.
Knowing there's 2 of them as well, pushing forwards, gives time to work the rest of the map, or to come up to the top lane if they'd like. And now we spoke towards that turret being taken in bottom. What's the next steps for Tainted Minds? They do want to go topside.
Yeah, looks like they're going to alleviate that pressure on that inner turret that is quite low. Already, Rosie in position. Is Omni going to make his way over as well? Still definitely far ahead in this farm, and this Victor can just continue clearing out minion waves. Working out quite nicely as he's going to spot this pink ward, see whether he clears it. Decides not to.
Priorities.
Blue buff is going to be exactly priority.
Blue buff always comes first. So they lock that one from Luch in particular, being that tier stacker you wanted. And now we can look towards that pink ward. Vision he prepared earlier.
Exactly right. So Omni able to take that one down relatively effectively and then clear out this wave very quickly. So Luch moving back up the mid lane. This is going to be some considerable damage out of Omni. Probably will be able to get this outer turret to half health, something like that, as Praedyth. T-Gun and Seb getting aggressive. Seb gets a cheeky E onto him, but not going to find too much. The outer turret on the bottom side of the map falls, but will be traded immediately from Tainted Minds, and the map opening up a lot at this stage.
There definitely is, and these are the 2 that are going to be an issue, potentially. Once these towers are broken, Abyss's response is actually a 4-man strong push. Shen has taunts, but it's not going to deter them, and actually a big advantage gained by Abyss in the way of team movement. So they find themselves an extra turret. It might be the second one here, but Lost doesn't attack all that quickly.
No, so this inner turret is going to be safe for the moment. No one heading back there just yet, but there's the teleporters. Pac-Man is going to make his way through.
Risky.
Oh, there's the flash room. Prisoner Seb's looking for the knock-up, gets it, and they layer the CC so beautifully. Abyss grab an easy kill in the mid lane.
And you would have thought that Seb could have given that one over to Luch. Unfortunately, he doesn't. Now they have a slight numbers edge around the Drake. Shortly after Pac-Man teleported to a side lane, means they can look towards this one simply because of that thing.
Yeah, and you mentioned sort of Abyss's ability to move around the map here in the mid game, looking very, very strong with their decision making. So Mountain Drake apiece for both of these teams. Will help for taking these turrets down. We saw it didn't take him very long. Now it's going going to be even faster.
Yeah, and definitely denying, at the very least, 2 Drakes from Tainted Minds. They get what they can, and then they're gifted more through this middle lane. Luch, he may be behind in farm for the first time in what feels like an eternity, but it doesn't matter because he's still a very capable mid laner.
Damn right.
Picks his battles very appropriately.
Well, moving back up the mid lane now. Didn't manage to finish off any items there, as we'll see exactly what he's looking for as item number 3. Looks almost like a Void Staff. That would be interesting. There's only that Negatron Cloak on Omni, as well as the Hex Drinker.
Morgana's ulted back.
Yeah, looking for the Soul Shackles, but it's not going to go off. Black Shield is now on cooldown as Luch. Zahi's looking for him, gets kicked back into the team. The exhaust is down, massive damage out of Omni. And the chomp down from Pac-Man might be enough here. The Chaos Storm wreaking havoc, but it's a double kill for the Trundle. Omni going to get stunned up, and look at this death squad of Abyss. They've locked down Omni, they're looking for the stun as the Black Shield is there, but Seb is able to lock him down, and Omni running in the wrong direction now. Raid takes down Lost in the backline, that is massive, as Omni is going to fall, and Abyss come up trumps 2 for 4.
Yeah, Raid actually taking out Lost with Rosie nearby, who does get a trade. But Abyss are now looking, no way, they thought that was the Rift Herald. They immediately back away. I was going to say that was silly. They still get themselves a fantastic team fight.
Yeah, looking fantastic here for Abyss, as Seb is going to lock himself down a celebratory Rift Herald.
They totally thought that was Herald.
The funny thing would be is if it was just Seb, he'd like, oh, well, I'll go start it up, and he's tunneling underground, and then he's like, oh, that's Baron.
Well, they would have had the trend sense.
Yeah. Oopsies.
That is still a very positive shift, however, for Abyss, and it kicks off with Tainted Minds looking at that Rift Herald. They started on Luch. Once he gets kicked in, does do a fair bit of damage even through that exhaust. Couple that with Pac-Man on that Trundle. And Seb, surprisingly, whilst we're only 19 minutes in, is doing a fair chunk of damage himself. Raid, look at his immediate decision-making, seeing Lost throw the ulti. Even though Lost cancels it, doesn't seem to matter too much. Raid, he has that early armor. He's hitting the skill shots. Oh, but he finds himself a Rosie.
And almost gets killed by the captive audience there as well.
Very good mechanical play from Raid, though, in that 1-for-1. Both of them actually gaming each other.
Yeah.
The end result, though, was Raid comes up and then Rosie comes in. And the funny thing is, by Rosie coming in, it means there was one less person to help them escape on the top side of the map. And they also die up there.
Also really nice timing here for Abyss as well. I mean, as soon as Raid picks up those first 2 items, they're able to find a team fight. And this Ezreal's very strong. Yeah, precisely.
Rise is pretty big now. They've got the Braum to counteract the Jhin. When it comes to the crunch, they've got the Trundle who can split push against the Shen and get onto Lost. And that backline, even Seb, now 3-0-3 is going to be super tanky.
It's Deadly Flourish. T-Gun taking some damage. Death Ray isn't going to find him. Of course, Praedyth waiting with the ultimate. Does have it available. Lots of vision off to the side here. No flanks quite possible, as Pac-Man has a full wave pushing up at this inhibitor turret. Praedyth going to have a rough time dealing with this Trundle and also potentially trying to help his team.
Praedyth pushes him off for now, though, Atlas. I don't think it'll happen the next 2 times. As Pac-Man's damage is actually getting quite large now that he's got a Sheen pickup. He's only running away because they're actually looking to collapse from the Tainted Minds roster, which gives time to Raid and Luch, who is now on the top side with no teleport, to actually work their magic. And in a situation where they're actually down numbers in this middle lane, they're still pushing them in. That's risky, but because they're doing it well enough, they're not dying for it.
Yeah, of course, getting money in all 3 of those lanes as well, as now Luch is going to go back. We'll see whether he can finish off the Seraph's Embrace. Evened out that farm as well with this side wave. And you can see Abyss now with a considerable lead, actually, close to the tune of about 3,000 gold. All after that big team fight.
Yeah, and this feels like it's a comfortable position where they actually want to be, walking around Summoner's Rift. We've got Ezreal and Braum to farm in this middle lane, diffuse any advances that might come out of the Tainted Minds roster. Ryze can sit in a side lane even without the teleport, because he can kill the person that comes to address him. And the same thing goes for Tainted Minds. They send a Victor up there, kill the Victor. They send the Shen, probably still kill that Shen. He's only got armor.
You see True Shot Barrage now to clear out this wave. They really want to get to this turret or get themselves a relatively easy back. Now going to come in. So Raid and T-Gun going home. This minion wave dealt with very quickly out of Tainted Minds. Do have that vision available. The Q is going to stop T-Gun from going home. Deadly Flourish there just to be annoying, and that may have bought them enough time to try and get a good dent on this turret.
We'll see. If they get a dent on the turret, it does fall.
Yeah, but
Speaking of turrets and dents,
yeah. Now this is the Pac-Man way on his Trundle. Definitely an annoyance as Gravity Field has gone down. Tainted Minds, 4 members strong here. Perfect Hex Core going to bring T-Gun into the middle of it. They can't quite break it in though now that Luch has turned up.
yeah, Seb's just too tanky.
Yeah.
The tanky member of the team can just stand in front and scare them all. And honestly, that's exactly what Tainted Minds were. They were completely scared. The Black Shield just gets thrown out on a loss, and that gives them a cooldown window. They could have engaged afterwards. Another Mountain Drake, by the way.
Yeah, 3rd one in a row here. Zahi is looking around. So we are going to get a tweet from Squiggle from Sin. I feel like Seb is one of the most underrated players in the OPL. Well, he's definitely playing well this time around. I agree with you, Squiggle.
I'd like to think that we rate him highly enough now, especially coming into this next split. You have to remember that he just had a split where he got relegated on a team and now came back and is performing well once again.
Yeah.
He has been the most consistently good performing member in teams that were underperforming, and now he's found himself an opportunity to step up, and he's doing so. So I agree with you, Squiggle, but I don't think we underrate him too highly or too much.
I think that's a fair assessment. It's Tainted Minds definitely on the back foot here. See, 3-0-3 for Seb at the moment. Massive kill participation. Has been able to get around that map on this coveted pick, honestly, in the Rek'Sai. Both of these players found success on the champion.
Yeah, and an early rotation as well from Seb, so locks it down to prevent Zahi from having it, who looked okay on his Lee Sin. Did make some moves early. Shows that he can use Lee Sin's kit to its fullest. Still. Yes. Definitely still. However, it's now at that point in the game, 26 minutes in, where he has one kick. And it can engage, but he'll die for it, which is kind of just what Lee Sin does, or he can sit back and peel, which is what I'd hope he does.
See whether he can as Deadly Flourish. He's going to lock down T-Gun. Oh, the safeguard kick didn't quite work there for Zahi as T-Gun was able to stand behind Seb. And Q's not going to find the mark as it looks like Tainted Minds trying to set up for this dragon. Nice Death Ray comes in. Fair bit of damage as T-Gun gets the flash. Ultimate Seb wants to find Zahi, who safeguards himself out. Seb actually getting himself forward, but he's too low to continue this fight. And there's the curtain call. Lost looking for a kill. Luch picks one up, uses his Seraph's shield, as there it is. T-Gun falls down and Raid immediately has to QSS as that Q lands. Deadly Flourish actually onto the Ezreal, and Omni just picks it up. Massive picks out of Tainted Minds.
Praedyth has to teleport back top lane after what he's just done. If a wave crashes in time, Pac-Man will get it. That's risky. Abyss, they don't play the 5v5. They play the split push with Pac-Man, and they just want to poke. They end up dying for it. The teleport was used to get top lane, and everything settles with an extra dragon in their back pocket.
Yeah, nicely done here from Tainted Minds to grab that extra Mountain Drake. 2-1 now in favor of them. Now Omni rushing back, trying to pick up this blue buff for himself.
Flirting with death once again. Abyss were the ones actually looking potentially for an engage. I mean, Seb is tanky enough, but by not having Pac-Man there, they don't have backline threat.
He also had the teleport, but they wanted to try and trade for that turret, which is now busily trying to regen its health bar.
This one might fall. You have to remember the damage that comes out of Luch is always great. But Rosie picking that. Morgana's actually thwarted a lot of this engage that Abyss actually have.
Yeah. Well, they do manage to take down the outer turret, continuing that gold lead here for Abyss, despite Tainted Minds being able to pick up that dragon. Definite signs of life, and we expected a close series. Still certainly can go either way.
Yeah, I just feel like, unfortunately for Tainted Minds, the major benefits that they're actually getting are Drakes.
Yeah.
And 2 Mountain Drakes, like, they're nice to have. They're fantastic to have, but it doesn't get you the gold. And that's where Abyss are in the lead. And that could translate into something very easily. Maybe if Tainted Minds had all 3 of these Drakes, though, that overbearing threat of perhaps a Baron rush would be in the back of the mind of Abyss, but it's not anymore.
Seb going to grab himself a Wolf Spirit with the help of Praedyth. Now Abyss setting up vision here in the Tainted Minds jungle. They have had a lot of forward vision actually this whole game. Playing very far up, making sure that they're pressuring Tainted Minds. Pac-Man continuing his good work, trying to get pressure on these outers.
He's doing God's work this game for his team. Damn right. He's most of their win condition. We already spoke towards what a Morgana does in denying this esports team composition. They've got a Trundle Pillar if he's there. They've got the Rise W, the Braum Q, predictable crowd control. A single spell shield blocks that off. Well, that also means that actually doing that, having that engage, so much more difficult to execute on. Neither you do it perfectly, or Tainted Minds diffuse it, and that's where Trundle comes into play.
Oh,
He's actually what is that?
Yeah, Deadly Flourish comes in. Raid has to use the flash as the Chaos Storm gets over there. Lost is able to pick it up with the Curtain Call, though. That is a lot of the damage and the control here gone as Raid falls. Shadow Turret now in trouble. Is Rosie going to get position, and they do take it.
Yeah, and the beauty of a Jhin Lee Sin combo is that it doesn't matter who you kick, you actually set the other person up to be hit if you choose them. Still threatening towards the Baron, but actually looking perhaps for an engage instead. If they find themselves Luch, they know the Baron's free. If they don't find themselves Luch, then it's risky to do.
See, Luch is just clearing out minions here as Abyss want to get a shove. Try and catch Tainted Minds out. As Omni is going to make his way over, wants to get his wave clear in here. The gravity field goes down. T-Gun actually going to get brought back in. He stands behind Seb. He's going to be okay. Unbreakable comes down. Oh, that Deadly Flourish could have been the death of the Braum, but wasn't this time.
Yeah, completely thrown at the side angle. So hard to hit. Lost. Give you this time. Pac-Man's not going to stop though unless somebody actually comes towards him. Zahi hit the kick. Funny target selection, but he didn't need to hit Raid, funnily enough. Yeah, by kicking Seb, he can't body block. And the QSS is nice for Raid. It's been helping out as best he can use it for. But there's so much actual lockdown. You can QSS the initial stun or binding that hits you, or the Shen taunt that hits you. Even the Lee Sin Q, you can actually QSS the first half of it. But the Jhin W follows, and the Jhin Ultimate's going to be there to slow you down. There's no escaping the damage that follows the crowd control they have.
Not to mention the fact that Lost now has 3 items as well. Villager picked up. He's going to be hitting like a truck. Is now Pac-Man potentially in trouble. Q does land. So the pillar goes down in a fantastic place. Pac-Man's going to be safe.
Zahi throws the ward in a completely odd direction.
Yeah, still look for it again. Yeah, the layering of CC is fantastic as he has to flash. Curtain Call comes in. Another decent pillar, because now he has the fancy feet on, and none of these Curtain Calls are landing. Pac-Man, not sure how he survived that one.
Jhin and Victor ultimates, and also the Lee Sin to kick it off. We use there. They don't even get the single kill in a situation where Trundle's just too damn tanky after he was caught out of position.
Raid as well, doing a lot of work here as the Deadly Flourish is going to go wide. Omni. Yeah, Ghost is going to be popped here from Omni. Looks like Tainted Minds almost aggressively trying to find something.
Oh, they want it, but they don't have the ultimates to get it. And so unless the binding connects, they don't even get the kill. Looking that aggressively for Raid, who has a QSS, it's never going to work out for you like that. But what they can do is actually work around their vision. This is a game where Tainted Minds want the Baron, or they want to force a fight near the Baron. Abyss's response is, oh, we'll just push mid. And then Tainted Minds run mid, and it just keeps happening.
Well, T-Gun possibly in trouble here. Does have the flash, but hasn't used it yet. Is going to get over the wall. As you saw the Duskblade of Drakthar going off, but he's not going to find the kill.
And this actually is just a continuation of what we said earlier. Tainted Minds playing around jungle, Abyss playing around lanes. Praedyth actually in a bit of a position. Huh?
Yeah, Dilly the Pickles. Luch flashes after him. They want to find the kill on the Shen so he can't join his team, and Luch is going to be able to pick that one up. Pac-Man's going to make his way into the pit, but it is going to be the Baron falling in favor of Tainted Minds. Can they get out of here? Raid gets a lot of damage down. Lost picks up the kill into T-Gun, but Pac-Man still trying to get the work done. Lost very low. However, Pac-Man doesn't have flash and can't get over. Another ability will have to be used. Yeah, he's going to try and get in the backline. There's the flash knock-up as Lost is in trouble. Manages to get the kill on his own. Azahi now running the wrong direction.
Pac-Man.
Yeah, looking for the pillar. Will be able to find it, but he's on the wrong side. As now Rosie gets a pretty easy binding in the tunnel.
Oh, he
Now
got
Raid
it.
looking for Zahi. Gets on top, but there's the Blade of the Ruin King, and Zahi not going to be able to get away here as Luch just takes the Dragon for himself, and that's an Infernal. It's a relatively big deal, but in a trade for a Baron, probably still favors Tainted Minds.
And unfortunately for Luch, not having that teleport means that they don't get any more follow-up kills, but the Infernal Drake, as far as the second prize goes, the second place consolation of a fire is going to be quite handy for him. So Abyss lock that one down. They get themselves 3 kills, and they're continuing to pressure the map even after the Baron has been taken. I think between Omni and Rosie, however, they have plenty of wave clear. They should be able to defuse this.
Yeah, so Tainted Minds able to reclaim control of these waves, especially with Omni and his wave clear. So you can see Praetor building towards his Guardian Angel, does almost have those 4 big tanky items. But Luch, he's hit 4, he's got himself his GA.
And it makes sense that Luch would look towards the Shen because he's an easy kill.
Yeah.
Yes, you can trade or you can take the 1-for-1. But if they're just going to have control of the Baron pit from start to finish, by going bottom and running into the risk of just letting them have the Baron, you're actually asking to put yourself into a bad position as a team. So Luch, selfish move, maybe thinking that he has to carry harder than he actually does. Looks for a Shen, tries to cut off the strategy at the head.
Yeah.
But the body was able to get a Baron. Although they might have lost some limbs from it, they still have it.
Exactly, and they still have it on some important members as well, as Rosie and Omni both able to continue to push up these waves. The moment together, but that's a huge minion wave towards the top side of the map that Luch is now opting to pick up for himself.
Tainted Minds have the inside track here, but it's a big flank from Abyss.
Oh my goodness, Seb looking for Lost as well. Nice Black Shield is going to stop the knockup from coming in as that Gravity Field doing a bunch of work. Praetor, massive work with the taunt as Zahi's getting taken down so low, but it is going to be Seb falling. Praetor is the next to go down as Rosie's in trouble. Raid, full health as Rosie's going to get taken down by the Ezreal.
Raid's going off.
Yeah, trying to continue finding more, but Tainted Minds moving the wrong direction. Looks like Abyss trying to get some more work done here up the mid lane.
Yeah, they get another big team fight, and this is exactly what Abyss can do. Engaging was nice on their part. They had the right flank, and they won that fight where Luch spent the entire time hitting Morgana through an exhaust. Didn't actually do anything towards winning the team fight, but Pac-Man is so damn tanky. So is Seb, and the only person they kill is that hyper tank Rek'Sai. Raid was completely untouched throughout it.
Yeah.
And it's just really good positioning in the team fight to set themselves up, even though Tainted Minds did their bit kiting back.
Yeah, and the fact that Tainted Minds used sort of all of those cooldowns, all of that CC on this Rek'Sai is very dangerous. So you look at Seb and you're like, oh, he died in that fight. I mean, that's not great. But they had to take down so many hit points from that Rek'Sai.
Yeah, and I believe he just bought himself a GA.
It's going to be difficult to do that next time.
Yeah. Good luck.
Yeah, exactly right. You can see Luch just wants to take as many creeps from this map as possible, be it in the jungle or in a lane. Now heading back to base, we'll see whether he can complete the Rabbidan's Death Cap as item number 6. Whether he's going to go for something else. Decides not to go back, wants to grab another minion wave. There's Deadly Flourish. Looks for Seb, doesn't find him. Yeah, Triangle spots him out.
Lost just reveals their position. So Tainted Minds have to be careful once again. They are still advanced, though, in where they are on the map. And this is really handy for them, because at 37 minutes in, they don't even need the kills, but if they lose the fight, they actually put themselves into a really poor position on the side of Abyss, because it means to actually get from your side of the base to Tainted Minds, it covers distance. Pac-Man.
Yeah, still looking for a nice filler, goes down. Zahi going to get closed on as T-Gun looking for a massive ultimate. Hits 4 people actually from the Braum, as now Luch has 1 target in mind. But Praetor does throw down the ultimate on top of him. Massive knockups here from Seb as he joins the battle, and Praetor running for his life. Lost survives, but they lose the support and the mid laner, and turrets don't seem to matter here for Abyss, as Lost is going to get closed in on big damage out of everyone from Abyss, and it just looks like they can't be killed.
They can't be killed. They're all too tanky. Zahi's not even going to be able to do anything. This is at least the inhibitor, but with 3 people dead, 2 of them carries, and 1 the defusal to what is the engaged tool of Abyss. This does look like Game 1's about to completely go over to them.
Well, we'll see whether they can actually do a teleport coming in here from Pac-Man as he makes his way back through. GA popped from Praetor, who wants to get back into this as quickly as possible because Nexus turret 1 is going to fall down. Praetor is going to fall in response. And this just looks like an Abyss victory and so much control throughout the game.
Yeah, absolutely. Abyss Esports, they put themselves 1-0 up It took a little while to find their footing, but once we hit that middle game stage of it, they basically looked like they weren't going to slow down and rocketed their way through the rest of it.
Yeah, and Raz mentioned the fact that Abyss sort of have this moment in the mid-game where they don't look as decisive, look as controlled. This game, they looked like they had control throughout, despite a couple of upsets that Tainted Minds were able to throw. But we are going to head it back over to the analyst desk to break down the Abyss victory.
Thank you so much, Atlas. And with that, it is going to be Abyss Esports going up 1-0 over Tainted Minds. But it is important to, I guess, take this game back to the start because, you know, a very bottom lane-centric comp locked in here from Tainted Minds, and they're able to execute on it early very well.
So effectively, you had the Shen come out. We're like, okay, so they know exactly where their win condition. It's in loss. It's on that 80 carry. They're going to be playing with global presence with that Stand United.
Yep.
I was like, stand behind me. No, that's Braum. And so in the early part of this game, you look at the likes of T-Gun and Raid, especially on the Ezreal and the Braum. Braum obviously being picked up to answer some of the damage that Jhin is going to output, obviously putting up your wall to his curtain call. And all they have to do is survive that. And Tainted Minds get to execute on it, I think, 2 or 3 times where things start going really well for them.
Yeah, the biggest point is I really like the fact that Tainted Minds understood, like, or at least what they wanted to do, right? They had a very clear vision of what they wanted to accomplish. Maybe too clear. I think that Zahi pretty much like camped out that lane, and it worked in a sense that I think that Abyss, their bot lane, was getting a little impatient, getting picked off a bit, and I thought that was like, okay, well, I guess it's working out. They just needed to convert that later on in the game. Like, they just needed to be able to push out that bot lane, walk mid, be a lot more liberal with your Jhin ultis, right? To just pretty much free up and like put as much pressure in trying to get that mid lane turret.
Well, unfortunately, I think that there was like a really small like window frame where they could make use of this opportunity simply because every single time they went bot, they just lost more and more ground into the top lane. And we said it in the green room, you know, they do that one more time with the Shen and Pac-Man's going to be inside their base. He's going to take their inhibitor. And so they just like lost their window to do it. And they have this big mid-game power spike. And there was a point where Abyss are pushing up into that mid lane and they're trying to siege the tower, but they can't quite set up their triangle vision. You know, they're not threatening Victor off of it. Whereas like you said, if they just opened up that Jhin ultimate and ran them down, they could have beaten them. In fact, it was that mid-game dragon fight where they were really strong, where they finally got to execute on that.
Yeah, they certainly did. And even that is a force on behalf of Abyss. I mean, they shouldn't have been looking to fight because, you know, we kept saying it. The longer this game goes, Rek'Sai outscales Lee Sin, Trundle is going to become a monster, Ryze is going to become a monster.
Yep.
And you see the late game team fights, Luch is just running people down.
Yep. And I actually really wanted to see Luch get TP on him because I think that would have been a really solid 1-3-1, right? Pretty much they would never have to fight. It was actually getting pretty awkward later on in the game. It was getting awkward later on in the game.
When he's trying to match Shen?
Yeah, when he was trying to match Shen, he only had Ghost, and so they pretty much had to give up Baron. It worked out pretty well for them later on, but they just give him TP, and they can do that freely.
Yeah, game becomes a little bit easier, but either way, Abyss are able to pick up the first victory. Don't go anywhere, guys. In 3.5 minutes, we'll be back with more Oceanic League of Legends action.